Masahiro is an ugly loser so talentless that everything he lays his hands on becomes useless. But everything changed one day when he met a weird talking cat who gave him the power to see spirits. With such powers, he became the strongest exorcist in the world and even raised the princess of the kingdom. However, before any of this, a young boy is being chased by a skeleton. He tries to escape into a house nearby with the hope that the skeleton won't be able to get inside. But the ghastly skeleton wasn't just a normal evil spirit. Instead, it was one of the strongest ones in the vicinity. Such a cheap-looking house made with wooden planks doesn't stand a chance in front of the evil spirit. The boy is worried that the ghastly skeleton might end up eating his soul. He tries to back away, but the wall behind him stops him in his escape. Just then, the strange-looking cat beside him starts to speak as it orders the ghastly skeleton to stop. It tells the ghastly skeleton that the boy is still young and weak. The ghastly spirit pays no attention to the talking cat. It immediately attacks the young boy once again, who can only run into the hallway to save himself. After reaching the end of the hallway, he realizes that he can't back away anymore, so he asks the talking cat to stall the ghastly skeleton while he tries to complete his exorcism. While the talking cat is stalling the ghastly skeleton, the young boy quickly grabs a talisman from his pocket and starts chanting a few mantras. After chanting the mantras, he throws the talisman at the ghastly skeleton, who gets sealed within and burns to ashes. The exorcism takes all of the boy's stamina. He falls on his bottom in exhaustion. In a flashback, they pity him because his grandfather Seimei is known to be the greatest exorcist, while the young boy can't even see spirits. The young boy, whose name is revealed to be Masahiro, is sitting under a tree when a weird-looking cat falls to the ground. Now, if Masahiro was Newton, he might have discovered gravity due to this incident, but he was just an ordinary young boy who can't even play a flute normally since all of his talents suck. Masahiro is surprised to see this weird cat as he recognizes it to be a spirit. But he can't believe his eyes because till now he hasn't been able to see any spirits, so he wonders if his second sight has returned. The talking cat tells him that it still hasn't returned because they are surrounded by small spirits, yet he still can't see them. Masahiro asks it then why he can see it, to which the talking cat replies that it's because he is an extremely old and powerful spirit. Masahiro doesn't go into details, but the weird talking cat sniffs him and discovers that he must be the grandson of the great exorcist Seimei. He starts calling him Seimei's grandson, which makes Masahiro angry, who tells him that he has a name. Later, Masahiro is in the town when he feels a tremor in the ground. He is wondering whether there was an earthquake nearby when the weird cat warns him to be careful, as it senses a powerful evil spirit ahead. Just as it says this, a carriage carrying a princess that is traveling through the town gets slammed by the evil spirit, who is invisible to normal people's eyes who can't see the spirits. If it was Masahiro who was a child, he could have seen it, but now he has lost his special sight which allowed him to see the spirits. With no power to defeat the evil spirit, Masahiro can only retreat. At home, Masahiro meets his father, who asks him about his calligraphy practice. Masahiro answers that it's going great, but his teacher told him that it's better if he only pursue it as a hobby rather than as a career. His father is used to hearing such statements, so he just sets it aside and tells Masahiro that his grandfather sent him a letter that he should read. Masahiro receives the letter, in which his grandfather talks about him giving up on his dream of becoming an exorcist. He is saddened because when Masahiro was a child, he always used to hang out with him, and when he discovered that Masahiro also had special eyesight, he taught him all of his skills and legacy. Masahiro's grandfather regrets that he lost his second sight, but he still doesn't want Masahiro to give up, so he assigns him the task of getting rid of the evil spirit that has been terrorizing their town for days now. Masahiro can't reject his grandfather's request, or later on he will be lectured that he didn't study well, while he is going through his books to remember everything that he learned from his grandfather. The weird cat beside him continues to stay beside him, which pisses off Masahiro. He asks it to leave as his grandfather would be angry when he finds that a spirit is living inside his house. The weird cat asks Masahiro to stop calling it a weird cat and tells him that it has a proper name. But when Masahiro asks him what its real name is, it refuses to answer, as names carry significance and it doesn't want anyone else to know its name. Masahiro is amused, so he just decides to call it Makun. Makun is angry, but it accepts its fate after realizing that Masahiro has no plans to back away. After preparing for a while, Masahiro and Makun leave the house as Masahiro asks Makun to act as his eyes and guide him to where the evil spirit is. They both arrive at the town, where the evil spirit immediately detects them and initiates its attacks. Makun guides Masahiro to stay away from the evil spirit. Unfortunately, Masahiro's speed is too slow, and his leg gets caught by the evil spirit's tongue, which starts dragging him towards its mouth. Makon is extremely worried, so it immediately throws away all the plans to run away. It grabs the evil spirit's mouth and tries to keep it open, so Masahiro can free himself. While their lives are on the verge of being taken away, Masahiro orders Makon to leave, but Makon refuses, as it tells Masahiro that it promised Seimei that it would protect him. In the last moment of desperation, Masahiro unlocks his ability to see spirits once again. Even though he can now see how dangerous the evil spirit that's attacking them is, he still won't back down. If he backs down, he won't be able to face his grandfather in the future. Makon just wanted to hear this from him as he tells Masahiro his real name, Guren. Masahiro calls him by his name, which unlocks the seal placed on Makon. The weird cat that Makon was taking the form of soon turns into a demon from hell by the name of Tauda. The evil spirit that was attacking them recognizes Tauda, but Guren doesn't acknowledge this name, as he has a new name, which was given to him by Masahiro's grandfather, Seimei. Guren rescues Masahiro and takes him away to the side, where Masahiro finally remembers that Guren is one of the servant spirits that his grandfather had. But Guren tells him that it isn't the time for them to talk about the past right now, as defeating the evil spirit takes the first priority. Using Guren's help, Masahiro is easily able to perform the exorcism, which purifies the evil spirit from this world. After the exorcism, Masahiro remembers everything from his childhood. He remembers that his grandfather sealed his sight because he wanted to protect him from the things that he could see. This makes Masahiro extremely angry at his grandfather, but before he can say anything, a bird flies near them and drops a letter, which turns out to be from Seimei. Inside the letter, Seimei congratulates Masahiro for unlocking his special sight once again and tells him that he looks forward to meeting him one day. This makes Masahiro even angrier because first that his grandfather lives in the same house, yet he refuses to communicate with him properly, and second that he realizes that his grandfather was watching him all this time. A few days later, Masahiro's coming-of-age ceremony is set in place where all the nobles are invited. Being the grandson of the great exorcist, Seimei brings a lot of attention towards Masahiro, which he doesn't like at all, as it's just too exhausting to deal with people, especially those snobby nobles. Masahiro leaves the events and heads outside with Makon, who tells him how much face does his grandfather has to make every noble come to attend his coming-of-age ceremony. Masahiro becomes upset because he wants to escape this identity of being Seimei's grandson. Makon tells him that there is only one way to do that, and it's to become an even greater exorcist than his grandfather. While they are talking, Masahiro's father approaches him and tells him that he wants to come with him and go meet Minister Michinaga. After telling him, his father leaves as Makon expresses his shock because he didn't expect a figure like Michinaga to show interest in him. Masahiro wonders what makes him so great, so Makon tells him that Michinaga is the Minister of Left and Right, which allows him to control all the events that take place in the Empire. After the event, Masahiro heads to the minister's palace with his father, where he finally gets to meet the legendary Michinaga. Unlike his tales, Masahiro finds Michinaga to be very kind and polite. While his father is talking to Michinaga, Masahiro sits behind him where Makon keeps on yapping about proper etiquette and stuff. Masahiro is tired of his yapping, so he tells him to shut up, but he speaks out loudly so Michinaga is able to hear him. Masahiro's father immediately explains that Masahiro is with a tamed spirit that accompanies him everywhere. This makes Michinaga impressed as he praises Masahiro for having a tamed spirit around him at such a young age. Despite his praise, Masahiro isn't happy because Michinaga is praising him as Seimei's grandson, not because of his accomplishments. After meeting with Michinaga, his father asks Masahiro to go and roam around the courtyard as he has some private things to talk about with Michinaga. While roaming around with Makon beside him, he asks Makon if he knows lots of stuff from 100 years ago. Makon replies that he does, even though some of those memories aren't too pleasant. But he does remember that Michinaga wasn't this powerful before and only became this powerful recently. Masahiro has no idea about his influence, but he does like the spacious garden, which is even bigger than his whole house. Makon mocks him for being unknowledgeable and tells him that the Emperor's Grand Palace has an even bigger garden. Makon promises to take Masahiro there one day, which surprises him because he didn't expect that a spirit like him would like to go there. But Makon corrects him that a lot of weird spirits live at the palace, so it doesn't matter if he is added to the list as well. On the topic of going to the Emperor's Palace, Masahiro comments that Makon should go back to his grandfather because now he can see the spirits once again and can deal with things on his own. But Makon refuses his idea, which causes Masahiro to tease him if he doesn't want to leave him because he would miss him. Masahiro expected Makon to become angry, but he doesn't, as he leads Masahiro to another courtyard where he tells Masahiro that he sensed something here. Masahiro doesn't sense anything, so he is confused, but Makon is assured but there was something here, but it left after sensing their presence. But he doesn't worry as he notices that Seimei has placed a spiritual barrier around the house in the courtyard. From the house, a figure emerges that catches Masahiro's attention as he realizes that it's a princess. The princess introduces herself to be Akiko and wonders if Masahiro is the fabled grandson of Seimei. Hearing his grandfather's name leaves a bad taste in his mouth, but he still respectfully greets the princess. The princess asks him about Makon, who is beside him, which surprises Masahiro as he didn't expect a princess like Akiko to be able to see spirits. He feels pity for her as it would have been terrible to see such things throughout her life. After talking to her for a while, Masahiro leaves, but his face is still quite a bit red, so Makon takes this chance to tease him for falling for a princess of first sight. While they are arguing, they bump into Yukinari, who is a mentor to Masahiro and has taught him a lot. Masahiro thanks Yukinari for placing the crown on his head at the coming-of-age ceremony. Yukinari tells him not to fret over it, as it was just a minor gesture. He tells Masahiro that he has a great burden on his shoulders, so he should always be upright and strive to achieve better things. Masahiro wants to pay attention to his teachings, but Makon keeps on doing silly things, but since Yukinari can't see him, Masahiro has to suffer from it. After talking for a while, Yukinari leaves as Makon heads to the study room to learn more about the stuff that is gonna come ahead in his life. Inside the study room, he notices a few evil spirits, but they are harmless since they are too weak and small. Instead, he focuses on the studies and is engrossed in it when he suddenly hears a commotion outside. He leaves the room and looks ahead when he realizes that there is a fire at the Emperor's palace. But that doesn't concern him because he feels something terrible towards the minister's palace where he met Princess Akiko previously. He and Makon immediately run towards the place, but they are stopped by Yukinari, who tells him that he can't go inside without permission, but since it's an emergency, Masahiro doesn't care as he barges inside without listening to any of the guards. Immediately, he notices Akiko on the balcony, who is about to leave, but he warns her to stay back as he notices an evil spirit coming out to attack her. But Masahiro immediately takes action and saves her as he uses his exorcist techniques to disperse the evil spirit. Makon tells him that the barrier that his grandfather erected has been torn apart, so Masahiro can only send a message to his grandfather for him to come back and reenact a new one. In the meantime, Akiko thanks Masahiro for saving her as she praises his skills as an exorcist. Masahiro feels embarrassed as he wasn't able to properly exorcise the evil spirit as it ran away. Soon, Michinaga and Yukinari arrive at the scene as Michinaga thanks Masahiro for saving his daughter. He praises his skills for being the grandson of the great Seimei. Meanwhile, Seimei hears the news of what happened. He thinks about the fire at the Imperial Palace and wonders how it could have happened, and also thinks upon the fact that only Masahiro went towards the Princess Akiko, which is somewhat intriguing. Masahiro returns home, where he is still lost in his dreams as he keeps looking at the small gift bag in his hand. This small bag was gifted to him by Akiko in thanks for saving her. Makon, who is sitting beside him, keeps on talking to him about the fire and the evil spirit that attacked Akiko, but Masahiro doesn't listen as he is too lost in the paradise of his dreams. In the end, Makon can only give up and have him come back to his senses naturally later on. The following morning, Seimei heads to the minister's palace to fix the barrier and reenact an even stronger one. After some time, Seimei finishes the ritual and informs Michinaga that the barrier is completed. Michinaga thanks Seimei for his hard work and also praises his grandson for having extraordinary skills. Akiko also praises Masahiro, which makes Seimei smile. He hands her a charm which will protect her from any danger if something happens later on. Akiko and Michinaga thanks Seimei for his service once again before he finally leaves. Later at night, Masahiro is trying to learn the art of divination, but he gives up after realizing that his talent in reading stars is extremely poor. Makon reminds him that divination is one of the key aspects of any exorcist, so he should continue studying it. But Masahiro ignores his advice, just like the Instabati ignoring your replies on her story. Instead, he runs outside to sit in a tree where he ponders his life. Makon sits beside him and asks him why he doesn't just go and learn the art of divination from his grandfather. But Masahiro rejects this idea since he feels that it would only serve to make him more miserable. He knows that with his grandfather's personality, he will continuously nag him for not learning properly, which only reduces his interest in the divination further. This causes Masahiro to remember about his childhood when he used to diligently study under his grandfather's tutelage. But after his grandfather sealed his second eyesight, he stopped studying about the spirits and got distanced from everything related to exorcism. This makes him question if it was his grandfather's choice to turn him into an exorcist. But if it really was, then why did he seal his second eyesight? Makan reminds him that he got his second eyesight back, which is good enough. He also reminds him that his grandfather probably sealed his second eyesight to make him safe from the dangers of people trying to hurt him. On the topic of his childhood, Masahiro also remembers that one time he was sitting beside a pond when he nearly fell in. He doesn't remember what exactly happened, but it was as if something had pulled him in. But fortunately, before he could fall in, something or someone saved him, but he doesn't remember who it was. His words cause Makan to sweat a little bit as he is glad that Masahiro doesn't remember it. He passes off this conversation by telling him that it could have been an evil spirit, but since he didn't have his second eyesight back then, he couldn't see it. The following day, Masahiro heads to the Imperial Palace where he meets Yukinari, who apologizes to Masahiro that he hasn't been able to give him any time despite that he is his mentor. Masahiro doesn't mind it because he knows that Yukinari is busy and tells him that he should focus on the things that are more important, such as rebuilding the buildings that were caught in fire the other day. After roaming around for a while, he returns home and starts his studying of divination once again. But this time, he doesn't investigate the fire, but instead tries to divine the evil spirit that attacked Akiko the other day. But no matter how many times he tries, it doesn't produce any results. Makan suggests that he keep on trying, as only with trial and error will he be able to become a good diviner. But Masahiro is tired of doing it on his own, so he decides to go out and find someone to teach him. Makan is surprised and wonders if it is Seimei, but Masahiro reminds him that he would rather be dumb than go to his grandfather to learn anything. Makan decides to follow him to see where he is going, which turns out to be a great decision because the evil presence from the other day is already waiting for them. Meanwhile, Seimei, who is studying in his room, notices Makan and Masahiro leaving, so he summons one of his other spirit servants to go and follow them from behind to make sure that nothing goes wrong. Even though he trusts Guren's ability to protect Masahiro if anything goes wrong, he still doesn't want to take any risks when it comes to his precious grandson. Back to Masahiro. He and Makan arrives at the town, but they notice that all the small spirits seem to be hiding in the corner. Makan wonders if they are terrified of his presence, but just then, an evil energy swept towards them which catches both of their attention. Masahiro recognizes the evil presence, which is the same that he felt at the Princess Akiko's courtyard the other day. Makan warns Masahiro that the evil spirit is unlike anything that he fought before, so he reminds him to be careful. Soon, the evil spirit shows its true form, which turns out to be weird ox with multiple horns. Makan tries using his talisman papers to subjugate the evil spirit, but its powers are too strong, and the talismans burn before they can even reach it. The evil spirit is angered and immediately attacks Masahiro, but Makan doesn't take much time before transforming into his real form. He uses his hellfire to burn the evil spirit, but the evil spirit seems to be a bit unique as it still doesn't burn completely. It even has the power to speak as it tells Guren to give up on the young boy and hand him over to it, so that it can sacrifice him to his master. The evil spirit knows that Masahiro has extremely rich spiritual powers, so it wants to sacrifice him to his master. The evil spirit also calls Guren a pathetic slave who gave away his freedom and became a servant to a human. Guren doesn't become angry as he tells it that he willingly gave his freedom and he doesn't regret it. Saying this, he increases the intensity of his hell flames, which causes the evil spirit to sacrifice itself to its master before it becomes useless ash. After the evil spirit is dead, a butterfly nearby flees towards Masahiro's house, where it transforms into a ball which tells Seimei of what happened. Seimei can sense that the era of chaos is about to erupt and wonders where it will take him and Masahiro. The following day, Masahiro is at the minister's palace, where he practices his calligraphy skills under Yukinari. He is practicing when Makan suddenly jump scares him, which makes him startled as he asks Makan what he is doing. Makan answers that he was just trying to see if he was still awake or not, to which Masahiro angrily replies that he is not that lazy to sleep during work. Makan waves off his complaints and goes back to his thoughts as he remembers the evil spirit from yesterday, and its words about sacrificing Masahiro to its master. Soon, Masahiro finishes his work and is free to go home. However, he is too tired from working all this time, so he ends up sleeping in the library. Before going to sleep, he requests Makan to guard him and wake him up if anything happens. In his dream, Masahiro finds himself at Akiko's courtyard, where he fought the evil spirit last time. This time, he can see the true form of the evil spirit, but when he is about to confront it, he realizes that he can't do anything. So in desperation, he tries to search for Makun, but he doesn't find him anywhere. He keeps on calling his name, but Makun doesn't appear, which leaves him extremely terrified. In his last attempt, he calls him out by his real name, and just then, he wakes up and finds himself in the study room. Makun, who is besides him, asks him what happened as he was turning and rolling around in his sleep. Masahiro tells him that he saw a dream in which he saw the true form of the evil spirit. Makun reminds him that exorcists don't dream of useless things, especially those with second eyesight. So he asks Masahiro to tell him exactly what he saw. Masahiro explains the whole dream to Makun, and also the shape and form of the evil spirit that he saw. Makun doesn't remember any spirit like that in his memories, which reminds him that he didn't know the weird ox spirit as well. Just when he is thinking about the origins of these evil spirits, Masahiro discovers a few books behind his back, which turn out to be a collection of foreign evil spirits that exist beyond the sea. Masahiro is extremely delighted as with these books, he can find the name of the evil spirit and also confirm their suspicion of them being outsiders. Masahiro quickly gathers up the books to study, but when he is about to take them outside, he finds his father in the hallway, who asks him why he is still here. Masahiro tells him that he will stay here for a while and requests that he inform his mother as well. After Masahiro leaves, Makun thanks Masahiro's father for placing the collection in the library. After saying this, he also leaves as Masahiro's father smiles as he realizes that Tauta, who was once the most feared spirit amongst all the spirits, is now being called by such a cute name. He now realizes that Masahiro is indeed Seime's grandson. Back to Masahiro, he continues to study the books and soon find both the spirits and their names. The weird ox spirit was called Gotsu, while the rat-looking spirit that he saw is called Banban. After learning their names, the only thing remain is to look for Banban since Gotsu is already dead. While Makun is wondering how Masahiro will search for them, Masahiro answers that he will capture some small spirits and ask them if they saw Banban or Gotsu before. To find such small spirits, he heads to the outskirts of the town, where inside a broken down house, he finds dozens of spirits. The spirits make fun of Masahiro and try to bully him, but when he mentions Banban and Gotsu, they become afraid and tell him everything that they know. The spirits inform Masahiro that Gotsu and Banban are extremely cruel, as they attacked so many of their peers and killed them. One of the spirits speaks about its friend, who was cornered by Banban at the Imperial Palace, which forced it to burn itself to signal the other spirits that there is a monster coming to consume them. Masahiro thought that he had learned everything that he could about the foreign evil spirits, so he was about to leave when one hesitant spirit mentioned to him a third foreign evil spirit. According to it, the third foreign evil spirit was like a cloud of darkness that consumed everything in its way. Masahiro asks it if it knows where it lives, but before it can answer him, they are attacked by Banban, the second foreign evil spirit that Masahiro saw in his dream. Banban is extremely strong and deadly as it immediately pounces on top of the smaller evil spirits, killing them first because it finds them annoying. This makes Masahiro extremely angry, so he immediately summons a few attack talismans to attack it, but none of them hit as it is extremely fast. In the end, Masahiro can only cast a binding charm to hold down Banban, so that Makun can finish it off with his attacks. Makun attacks heavily injures Banban, but it still manages to escape as it promises that there will be consequences for their actions later on. After Banban retreats, Masahiro asks the timid spirit about the location of the third foreign evil spirit, who tells him that it's located outside the city at a very rundown house. Soon, Masahiro and Makun arrive at that house and immediately they can sense an extremely terrifying presence within it. But before they can even enter, the foreign entity inside the house make a move as the whole house explode into a bright light that can be seen from far away. Masahiro and Makun are both shocked by the intensity of the evil energy. Makun immediately transforms into his real form and Masahiro also gets ready as he notices a lot of foreign evil spirits ahead. The foreign evil spirits want to sacrifice Masahiro to their master, but Gurren shuts them up by using his hellfire, which burns them to crisp. But there are far too many foreign entities, so Gurren is unable to defend alone, so Masahiro also steps in as he uses his spirit techniques to defend against the rest of them. But no matter how many of them they defeat, these foreign evil spirits keep on multiplying in numbers. In the end, Gurren can only create a way for them to reach the master, as dealing with these smaller evil spirits will only tire them even further. Gurren uses his hellfire to create a path between the evil spirits so they can reach the rundown house without exhausting themselves much further. On the other side, the master of the evil spirits finally reveals itself as Banban apologizes to it for being unable to defeat Masahiro on his own. The Master Spirit is extremely disappointed and kills Banban because he was unable to defeat a kid who has just started his career as an exorcist. Back to Masahiro and Guren. They finally reach the rundown house, but they are already exhausted because of how many evil spirits they had to face in order to reach here. Masahiro continuously used his spirit techniques, which made him so exhausted that he was unable to even walk on his own 2 feet. Guren had to carry him here as he warned Masahiro to spare his energy for later fights. At the rundown house, they finally come face to face with the Master Evil Spirit, who transforms into his full form, whom Guren recognizes to be Lord Kuuki. He had heard about Kuuki in the past, as he was one of the rulers of the lands in the outside world. He also finally realizes why Kuuki attacked Princess Akiko, because according to legends, Kuuki likes to eat females with long hair, and Akiko not only had long hair, but she was also able to see spirits, which made her a spiritual tonic for Kuuki. Kuuki looks at Masahiro and becomes happy because eating him would make all of his injuries heal in a second. But Guren stops him from getting close to Masahiro, which upsets Kuuki, so he orders all the foreign spirits to get rid of their fear of the hellfire and attack Guren. Guren is immediately surrounded by evil spirits who make him unable to do anything to protect Masahiro. This allows Kuuki to attack Masahiro personally so that he won't be able to escape. Masahiro doesn't want to die a meaningless death, so before he gets eaten, he uses the last of his energy to bring down a bolt of heavenly lightning in the hope that it will allow Guren to escape and return to his grandfather, where he belongs. However, the lightning bolt doesn't do much to injure Kuuki, but he definitely becomes angry and immediately pounces on Masahiro without giving a second thought. However, before his sharp teeth could reach Masahiro, Guren jumps in between them and sacrifices itself to save Masahiro. This makes Masahiro extremely angry, as he reminds Guren that even the 12 spirit servants of his grandfather aren't immortal, so he could have died under such an attack. But Guren replies that if his death meant that he could escape, then it would have been worth it. Masahiro doesn't understand why Guren would go this far to save him. Guren tells him that he brought light into his dull life. Normally all children would cry if they saw him, but young Masahiro was different, as he didn't even flinch when he saw him. This made Guren appreciate children whom he had always hated in his life, and that's when he promised that he would always do his best to protect him. While both of them are getting sentimental over each other, Kuuki is getting tired, so he immediately orders his minions to attack them. But it's too late, as by that time, the help has already arrived. Masahiro looks ahead and finds 3 servant spirits and their master, who seems to be a young-looking man. The newly appeared exorcist immediately orders his spirits to stall the evil spirits, as he uses his spirit techniques to defeat Kuuki in one go. Kuuki realizes the dangers, so he immediately retreats, but his army of evil spirits gets annihilated as none of them can escape. After defeating the evil spirits, the mysterious exorcist uses another spirit technique to heal all of Masahiro and Guren's wounds. This surprises Masahiro, as he didn't expect there to be such a strong exorcist that existed beside his grandfather. But just when he turns to thank them, he notices that they have already disappeared. Guren also turns into his Makan form, and without saying anything, he starts running towards their house as Masahiro closely follows him from behind. Soon, Makan arrives at their house, where he immediately barges into Seime's room, which shocks Masahiro, who tries to stop him, but Makan doesn't listen to him even one bit. At the door, a servant spirit also invites Masahiro to come inside, where he finds Makan arguing with his grandfather that how could he be so dumb to use his spirit soul to fight against such a strong opponent like Kuuki. Masahiro is confused as to what's going on, so Makan explains to him that his grandfather summoned his spirit soul out of his body only so he could go and rescue him. But this technique is extremely dangerous because it leaves the body vulnerable. But Seime doesn't care, as he looks at Masahiro and tells him that he was extremely disappointed that he was unable to take care of an evil spirit like Kuuki on his own without getting help from his grandfather. Masahiro knew that this was coming, but he didn't expect his grandfather to be this cruel to him, even though he just fought a life and death battle. In his anger, Masahiro barges out of his room and promises himself that he will exorcise the evil spirit on his own and cleanse his name from the smudges that he had to bear today. At night, Masahiro once again dreams of his childhood life, but this time he finds himself in the mountains, where he is tied to a tree, unable to escape. In the distance, Masahiro can hear the sound of a hammer banging on the wall, which keeps on haunting him. The sound and the fear of abandonment causes Masahiro to feel extremely heavy in the heart as he struggles to even breathe. This affects Masahiro even in real life, which causes him to finally wake up as he realizes that there is a spirit sleeping on his belly. He immediately throws Makan away, thinking that it's a random spirit, but only after he is fully awake that he realizes that it was all just a dream and he is back into the present. Makon is used to Masahiro tossing around and acting weird, so he asks him what he saw this time. Masahiro explains that he dreamt of Kifune Mountain where his grandfather took him, but instead of taking him to the top, he tied him to a tree promising that he will come back later. But a whole day passed before he finally came back to take him, but it was enough for Masahiro to grow distrustful of his grandfather for the rest of his life. After listening to his yap for a while, Makon reminds Masahiro that he still has his duties remaining for the day. After hearing this, Masahiro shuts up and heads towards the Imperial Palace to deliver some letters. There, he meets the guard who complains about the extreme heat. Masahiro can understand his pain as it hasn't rained for the last 2 months. He is worried that if this continues, then a drought might happen. But the guard isn't too worried, as he tells him that before that happens, Mikado will pray to the dragon deity at the Kifune Mountains. This reminds Masahiro of his dream, and he remembers that every year his grandfather heads to the Kifune Mountains and prepares for the festival. The guard praises his grandfather for working hard for them each year, even though he is extremely old. However, Masahiro doesn't feel anything for his grandfather, as he calls him a raccoon who has just taken the shape of a human. After saying his goodbyes to the guard, Masahiro walks towards the music division where he has to deliver letters. But Makon had a different plan. He takes a roundabout way and leads Masahiro to a corner where he ends up overhearing a bunch of servants talk ill about his grandfather. They talk about his grandfather being close to the emperor only because he is some sort of exorcist, but they dislike him because he is not of noble birth. This angers Masahiro because only he can disrespect his grandfather. So to punish these servants, he uses a spirit technique to create howling sounds, which causes the servants to become afraid as they immediately beg the head servant to call Seimei and perform an exorcism. Masahiro is happy to have taken revenge for his grandfather, and after doing so, he heads to the music division to complete his chores. By the time he is done with his stuff, the sun falls and the moon starts to come out. Masahiro and Makon are walking back home when suddenly a bunch of small spirits fall on top of him, who turn out to be the same spirits who guided him previously about the foreign evil spirits. They beg Masahiro to save them and exorcise Kuuki, who has been terrorizing and killing the remaining of their friends. Masahiro has been looking for Kuuki all this time, so this news is nothing but a gift from the heavens to him. After learning the place where the foreign evil spirits were last sighted, he immediately makes his way there with Makon. But when he arrives there, he finds nothing. All he finds is a carriage, but when they look closely, they notice that one of its tires is an evil spirit. But this evil spirit is an extreme coward who immediately starts begging for mercy after noticing that Masahiro is an exorcist. Seeing such a timid spirit causes Makon to become angry as he requests Masahiro to immediately exorcise it. But Masahiro lets the poor spirit leave after it promises that it won't attack anything ever again. After dealing with the timid spirit, they head back to the small spirits who seem to be even more depressed. Masahiro learns that they lost yet another of their comrades, which makes them extremely angry at Kuuki and his evil minions. Meanwhile, Seimei is looking at the stars when he notices one of his servant spirits approach him, so he asks him why he is so angry. The servant spirit, who is called Seryu, complains about Masahiro and how he is still struggling with minor evil spirits and is even unable to detect the foreign evil spirits. Seimei can understand Seryu's frustration as Masahiro is his heir, and after he dies, all of his servant spirits will be inherited by Masahiro. However, he reminds Seryu that he is too biased against Masahiro because Guren chose him. This hits right in Seryu's heart as everyone knows how much he hates Guren. Seimei can only shake his head as he suggests that Seryu forgive Guren for what he did all those years ago. But Seryu and the rest of his servant spirits are unwilling to forgive Guren because he tried to kill their master, Seimei. In the laws of the exorcist world, a servant attacking its master is the greatest taboo, so they can't just forgive him like this. After expressing their frustrations, all of his servant spirits leave as Masahiro and Makon enter the compound. Seimei invites them in, where he expresses his disappointment over Masahiro still not being able to locate the foreign evil spirit and eradicate it, even though he promised that he would do it on his own. After successfully pissing off Masahiro, who leaves the room, Seimei laughs as he comments how Masahiro is still such an easy child. But Makon complains that this only makes things harder for him, as he would have to deal with Masahiro afterwards. Seimei tells Makon that the other spirit servants are still unwilling to forgive him. Makon knows this, and he doesn't feel bad, as he deserves to be hated after what he did. This is why he separated himself from Seimei, because not only did he want to erase his guilt, but he also wanted to make up for the things that he did to Seimei by raising his grandson. After talking to Seimei for a while, Makan leaves and heads inside Masahiro's room to clean up the stuff which he scrambled around due to his anger on his grandfather. But Masahiro stops him and instead lifts him up over his stomach as he asks Makan why he looks so sad. Makan wants to tell him what he did, but he is unable to because he is worried that Masahiro will hate him too. While Makan is struggling to answer, Kuuki is struggling due to his injuries, which continues to get worse. If he doesn't get a strong spiritual sacrifice in the next few days, his minions are worried that he might succumb to his injuries. So this time, instead of targeting Masahiro, they decide to target Akiko once again since her spiritual energy is suited for Kuuki's taste since she is both a female with long hair and also spiritual energy. Later at night, Akiko is sleeping peacefully in her bedroom when she hears a faint noise from outside. She wakes up and walks towards the source of the voice when she realizes that it's the voice of another princess named Keiko. Keiko asks Akiko to come out as she wants to talk to her about something important. But Akiko refuses since she senses a terrible presence behind her. But Keiko keeps on trying to influence her to come outside, so Akiko can only try her best to get back inside, which causes her to stumble into a wooden plank, which falls and creates a loud noise. This wakes up the servants, who immediately come out and find Akiko standing at the edge of the balcony. They ask her what she is doing on the balcony this late at night, to which Akiko makes an excuse that she was just watching the moon and nothing else. The following morning, Masahiro visits the Imperial Palace once again where he meets Yukinari, who is still busy in the construction work of the buildings that were burned. While talking to Yukinari, he learns about the curse of Kifune Mountain. He mentions something related to a demoness using a hammer to nail curses into the trees, which reminds Masahiro of the dream that he saw. Yukinari also tells Masahiro that his grandfather was calling for him, so he should better go and meet him first. Afterwards they can chat all they want. Masahiro heads to meet High Grandfather, who gives him a letter which is from Akiko and tells him that she felt something evil at the minister's palace, so he should better go and check what's going on. Masahiro immediately rushes to meet Akiko, where she tells him about what happened last night. She also shows him the protective charm that Seimei gave her, and after the previous night's incident, the jade charm started to become cracked and milky. Masahiro can feel their strength weakening as the barrier around them also feels brittle. He doesn't understand why this is happening, even though his grandfather had just reenacted an even stronger one. He first fixes the barrier and then promises Akiko that he will look into the matter of this princess named Keiko. Before he leaves, he hands her back the scent bag that he gave her, as after staying in his robes for days, it has gained some protective ability and will be able to protect Akiko from evil spirits. Akiko thanks him as she also hands him another scent bag so that it's even on both of their sides. After putting the scent bag around his neck, Masahiro leaves as he heads out to meet this sick princess named Keiko. But on his way there, he finds her standing in the street waiting for him, and just like Akiko said, she had an evil presence behind her. He immediately summons Guren and is about to fight her, but she disappears as Masahiro realizes that what they walked into was just a barrier erected by the evil presence behind Keiko. But this doesn't stop Masahiro as he heads inside Keiko's house, where he meets her mother, who tells him that Keiko loved a man dearly, but that man betrayed her after he was approached by an even richer princess who wanted to marry him. After the betrayal, Keiko fell sick and hasn't gotten any better ever since then. After learning what happened, Masahiro can deduce that the foreign evil spirits used her weakness to gain control over her body. After learning this, he meets with his grandfather to confirm his suspicions, but his grandfather only makes him more angry after he reminds him that an uncertain exorcist is far more dangerous than the vilest of spirits. In his anger, Masahiro decides to act immediately at night and heads out to deal with the evil presence behind Keiko on his own. But on his way to her house, he stumbles into Akiko, who was worried about Keiko and wanted to visit her. Masahiro is angry that she is stupid enough to risk her life, so he grabs her hand and is about to take her back to the palace. But just then, they get attacked by Keiko and the evil spirits behind her. Makan immediately transforms into Guren and holds back one of the spirits while Masahiro deals with the other one. However, this causes their attention to divert from Akiko, who gets abducted by Keiko, who takes her away and leaves. The two spirits also knock down both Masahiro and Guren, who are unable to do anything as the trio escapes. Masahiro is angry at himself because he was unable to protect Akiko, even though he promised that he would protect her. But even Masahiro knows that being angry won't do anything, so he asks Makan what they should do now. Makan is also thinking where the evil spirits could have gone, but then he remembers them talking about sacrificing Akiko to their master. He also remembers Keiko speaking about fulfilling her wish, and it doesn't take him long to figure out that her wish must be to get back her lover, who another princess stole from her. But the real problem is finding where Keiko took Akiko, so Masahiro keeps on thinking about all the details. But then he remembers a key detail that he had overlooked. He remembers Yukinari telling him about a demoness who was placing curses on the Kifune mountain, which makes him realize that the demoness that he mentioned must be Keiko herself. He also finally realizes why it still hasn't rained, as the dragon deity at the Kifune mountain must be trapped inside the mountains due to the curses placed outside. He immediately tells everything to Makan, who agrees with him as they run towards the Kifune mountain to rescue Akiko. In the meantime, Seiryu, who has been watching Masahiro, informs Seimei about the situation. Seimei tells him to not worry as Masahiro will be able to take care of it, but Seiryu doesn't want to risk anything. So he immediately takes a few other like-minded spirit servants and heads to the Kifune mountain to rescue Akiko. Back to Masahiro. He is extremely tired from running and doesn't understand how they can reach the mountain faster. Fortunately, the carriage spirit that he met the other day is kind enough to take them to the mountains. After reaching the mountains, Masahiro and Makan immediately rush to find Akiko, but on their way there, they stumble into lots of foreign spirits. Makan transforms into Guren and uses his hellfire to stall them long enough so that Masahiro can go ahead and rescue Akiko. But Keiko comes out to stop him, which leads to a fight between them. Masahiro knows that he can't win against her alone, so he uses a special spirit technique to bind himself and Keiko together so that she can't complete the curse that she is trying to achieve. Masahiro is stuck between the choice to go and rescue Akiko, or hold Keiko down here so she can't complete her curse, which will completely turn her into a demoness. But fortunately, Seimei arrives using his spirit soul technique and holds back Keiko, which gives Masahiro an opportunity to go and save Akiko. Seimei also sends one of his spirit servants named Rikugu to go and assist them as things might become hectic. While Masahiro and others are heading to rescue Akiko, the evil spirits carve a symbol into Akiko's arm, which tells her status as a prey. They plan to use Akiko to lure Masahiro in and then kill him to steal his spiritual powers. But what they didn't know is that Masahiro isn't alone, as he has the support of so many powerful spirit servants who once used to be land deities of their own. With such powerful figures behind his back, Masahiro can hold against the dozens of evil spirits as he tries to rescue Akiko. However, Seiryu and other spirit servants are still not satisfied with Masahiro's performance, as they remind him that he relies too much on Guren's powers and doesn't have strong abilities of his own like his grandfather had. Masahiro tells Seiryu that even though he might not be as strong as his grandfather right now, that doesn't mean that he won't become stronger. So to prove himself, he tries to awaken the dragon deity of the mountain. But since his understanding of the technique is weak, he is unable to summon its full powers, and the spell fails. This turns him into a joke in the eyes of Seiryu, who finally thought that he had grown up. Masahiro, who falls unconscious after using such an exhausting spell, remembers his grandfather's words that every land has its language, so he should use that language to communicate with deities if he wants their help. Masahiro wakes up and stands once again, but this time he uses the dragon deity's language to summon his power, which allows him to break both the seal and defeat the evil spirits in one go. After defeating one of the grand evil spirits, its other companion arrives as it swears to kill all of them to appease the soul of his fallen brother. But this time, Guren attacks first, as it immediately turns the winged evil spirit into a wingless one, as it falls onto the ground like a dead weight. Masahiro doesn't care about the evil spirit as he runs towards Akiko to save her. He tries to check her pulse, but Akiko, who was unconscious, suddenly wakes up and stabs Masahiro in the chest. The fallen evil spirit laughs at Masahiro's naivety as he tells him that they had placed an evil mark to turn her against him, and he fell straight into their trap. Guren turns around and finds Masahiro on the ground with a knife in his chest. Realizing that he was unable to protect Masahiro, Guren falls into rage, which destroys the golden seal that Seimei had placed on him, which suppressed his hellish powers. Masahiro opens his eyes and looks at Guren, who is consumed with rage and fire. He pulls out the knife from his chest and cuts open the scent bag which contains the spirit calming herb, which he throws at Guren to calm him down. After doing this, he falls unconscious once again. The spirit calming herb calms down Guren, who turns into Makan and also falls unconscious. Seimei arrives and is shocked to learn what happened. He tries to save Masahiro even though the technique might cost his own life. His spirit servants try to stop him, but he doesn't stop and continues to use the technique. But just then, the dragon deity arrives and it heals Masahiro to repay the debt of freeing it. After healing Masahiro, it leaves hoping to see Masahiro once again in the future when he is all grown up. Masahiro wakes up and is happy to see that Makan is fine. Seimei takes them back home where Masahiro and Makan both get the well-deserved rest that they needed. Later, Akiko comes to meet them as she apologizes for the inconvenience that she caused them. Masahiro doesn't mind as he has fallen too deeply for her. Makan takes this chance to tease him, which turns him red as if he were a tomato. While this is all going on, Kuuki is struggling to recover so he can only eat his minions which barely satisfy his hunger. He is dying to get his hands on Akiko, so he starts planning his next move. Later, Masahiro is still sleeping when a dragon deity takes over his body to inform Gurren of the news that the foreign evil spirits have left the Kifune mountain. After telling him the news, the dragon deity leaves as Gurren holds Masahiro in his arms, as he is still asleep and completely defenseless. Seimei senses the dragon deity's aura, so he comes inside to check what's going on. Gurren tells him what happened and also breaks the news that the foreign evil spirits have left the mountain. Seimei realizes that they must be preparing their next move, so he asks Gurren to become cautious and protect Masahiro at all costs. Later, Masahiro finally wakes up from his long sleep and realizes that he doesn't feel sick anymore. And since he isn't sick, he wants to continue on with his work, so he gets dressed up and heads outside to see what's going on. There he meets Yukinari, who tells him that people have been mysteriously disappearing, and he suspects that this might be the work of some evil spirits. Makan is able to deduce that the foreign evil spirits are back at it again, which reminds him that he still hasn't told that dragon deity took over his body to bring him the news of foreign evil spirits remaining. This makes Masahiro extremely mad as he tells Makan that they must go and thank the dragon deity today. He still feels guilty that he didn't thank it after it saved him on the Kifune mountain the other day. So later at night, they arrive at the entrance of the Kifune mountain where the shrine of the dragon deity is located. There Masahiro expresses his gratitude and praise for a while before finally leaving. While heading back home, he notices a firefly which makes him realize that the summers are about to end. He is sad that he wasn't able to do any summer activities with Akiko this year, so he decides to make her promise that they will visit the mountains to see fireflies next summer. Meanwhile, Akiko is sleeping peacefully when suddenly she hears someone calling her. She remembers that this must be the evil spirits, so she continues to hold on to her charm and falls asleep once again. The following day, Masahiro visits Akiko where he learns from her what happened yesterday. She tells him about the voices, so Masahiro tells her to not worry and keep holding on to the protective charm which will protect her from the dangers. He also mentions about the fireflies and asks her if she would be willing to visit with him the next year. Akiko is more than happy to go with him. In her excitement, she even makes a pinky promise, making sure that Masahiro will definitely remember about their promise. Later at night, Masahiro returns home and hands his grandfather a letter from Lord Michinaga. Seimei opens the letter and learns that Akiko will be sent to the court next year, where she will become the bride of the emperor. Akiko also learns this news from her father, and it breaks her heart as she realizes that she won't be able to fulfill her promise with Masahiro. This causes her to lose her sleep, which allows the curse on her to become even more potent. Kuuki uses her restlessness to manipulate her even further and make her walk out of the barrier willingly. Akiko tries her best to resist the voices, but in the end, the unwillingness to break her promise to Masahiro causes her to succumb to the evil energy which breaks the spiritual barrier that Seimei placed on her house. The evil energy starts spreading through the whole palace, and it's so strong that even Masahiro and his grandfather can detect it from so far away. They immediately rush to the palace and take things under their control. They immediately find the crux of the problem, which is the evil mark that the evil spirits placed on her arm. They immediately try to cover it up as Masahiro places the scent bag in her hands, since it's covered in his spiritual energy, which will protect Akiko. Masahiro doesn't understand why such a thing happened in the first place. His grandfather explains that Akiko will be going to the court in the winter, where she will be made an imperial bride. This caused the foreign evil spirits to use her weak mind to take control over her body, which broke the barrier from inside. Seimei tells him that there is only one way to break the curse on Akiko, and that's to transfer it to someone else. Seimei wants to transfer it to himself, but Masahiro stops him and tells him to place the curse on him instead. Masahiro is devastated after hearing the news that Akiko is going to become an imperial bride. He realizes that their promise to see the fireflies together will always remain a dream. However, he still wants to protect Akiko, so he promises himself that he will destroy all the foreign evil spirits so that Akiko can go to the court peacefully this winter. After this night, Masahiro continues to exorcise foreign demons in the hope that one of them might give him a clue to where Kuuki is. But no matter how many evil spirits he purges, no one knows where Kuuki is. Makan is worried that Masahiro might be exhausting himself, so he complains to Seimei about letting him do all of the work on his own. Seimei tells him that even if he tried to help him, Masahiro won't accept it. So he tells him to go and watch over Masahiro, as he might end up escaping on his own instead. The following day, Seimei visits Akiko, who is extremely anguished that she caused them so much pain. After learning that her curse was transferred to someone else, Akiko becomes devastated and starts blaming herself and her wishes for what happened the other night. She talks about the promise between her and Masahiro and how she won't be able to fulfill it because she will be in court at that time. Seimei reminds her not to worry and to trust in Masahiro, as he is someone who will never break his promise. Akiko decides to trust Seimei and Masahiro, as this is the only thing she can do. Later at night, Masahiro once again heads outside to search for Kuuki, but this time he gets some evidence that leads him to a pond where a lot of people have been disappearing in. He arrives at the pond but doesn't find anything weird, so he asks Gurren to check if he can see anything, but after not finding anything, Gurren decides to boil the whole pond in hope that the evil spirits will reveal themselves due to how hot the water is. After a few minutes, Gurren realizes that the evil spirits are not in the pond but the surface of the pond. So he slashes the surface with his trident, which reveals a foreign evil spirit who has the shadows of Kuuki behind it. Just as Kuuki reveals himself, Masahiro falls onto the ground as the curse that he absorbed from Akiko starts to affect him. This makes Gurren realize that Seimei lied to him and that it was Masahiro who absorbed the curse instead. Gurren immediately slays the evil spirit in anger, but Kuuki's shadow disappears into the water, and no one is able to do anything. After he leaves, Masahiro comes back to his senses as Gurren lashes out at him for being stupid enough to transfer the curse to him despite knowing that it could have killed him. But Masahiro retorts and tells Gurren that he did because this was the only way he could save Akiko. After realizing that there is no point in debating with Masahiro, he comes to the point and asks him if he knows where Kuuki might be. Masahiro answers that Kuuki must be within an alternate realm in the pond. But this pond is too small to house so many foreign spirits, so he must be in a larger one. So they pick the one that is the largest and closest to the city and plan to head there to find Kuuki. In the meantime, Akiko's coming-of-age ceremony also takes place, where everyone gets to learn that she will be sent to the court and will become an imperial bride. Back to Masahiro, he arrives at the large pond where he meets the shadow of Kuuki once again, who offers him to become his slave, and if he accepts it, he will lift the curse that is eating him from inside. But Masahiro rejects it, so Kuuki can only challenge Masahiro to come and defeat him if he wants to free himself. He gives him the location of his base, which is a large pond by the name of Agura. Before heading out to defeat Kuuki, Masahiro visits Akiko one last time. But this time he can't see her face to face, as Akiko is going to become an imperial bride, so he can only see her through a bamboo sheet. However, Akiko still wishes to feel Masahiro's warmth one last time, so the pair put their hands above the bamboo sheet and tried to feel each other's presence one last time before they might not be able to see each other ever again. After giving his farewell to Akiko, Masahiro leaves with Makan and Rikugu to meet Kuuki and slay his evil ambitions once and for all. Masahiro meets with his grandfather, who wishes him good luck and hopes that he will be able to complete his mission. Masahiro boards his carriage spirit and leaves for the pond, where they soon arrive and find Kuuki waiting for them. Kuuki sends a few of his minions to annoy the two servant spirits so that he can drag Masahiro into the mirror world and deal with him alone. His plan is successful, as once Gurren and Rikugu are busy dealing with the evil spirits, Kuuki drags Masahiro into the mirror world. Gurren tries to save him, but it's too late, as the only thing that he can grab is the scent pouch in Masahiro's hand. In the mirror world, Masahiro is up against Kuuki all alone, but he still doesn't give up as he continues to fight till the end. No matter how many evil tactics Kuuki uses, Masahiro is able to defeat all of them, which makes Kuuki even more happy as he can't wait to eat him. Masahiro tries using all of his spirit techniques. Unfortunately, they are all useless against this mighty beast who tears through them as if they were paper. But just when Kuuki is about to plunge his claws into Masahiro's chest, Gurren and Rikugu arrive. The spiritual energy on the scent bag allowed them to create a gateway which became their entry into the mirror world. They stall Kuuki for a while, which gives Masahiro enough time to cast a spell to summon the dragon deity's blessing, which allows him to stand his own against the great beast. Meanwhile, back in the real world, Seimei orders Seiryu and his other servant spirits to go and visit Akiko and take away the scent bag from her, which holds Masahiro's spiritual energy inside it. This allows Seiryu to enter the mirror world, where he throws a sword towards Masahiro, which he uses to defeat the great evil spirit in one go. After defeating Kuuki, the curse vanishes and Akiko is free to leave and go to the imperial court. Or at least that's what Masahiro thought, but later on he meets Akiko, who tells him that Seimei told her father that the curse can't be removed, so it will be dangerous for her to become an imperial bride as it might affect Mikado. So instead, her father sent her identical twin who was born from another wife. But this means that she won't be able to show her face to the world, so she must stay in his place. This makes Masahiro extremely happy but also embarrassed as he realizes that it isn't any different than if they were married. Makan and Seimei allow them to flirt with each other as, after suffering for so long, they finally deserve some peace. That's all for today. If you enjoyed our video, give us a like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content.